Most credit advice gives you the right actions in the wrong order. And doing the right things in the wrong order is almost the same as doing nothing, because you won't see movement fast enough to believe it's working. This is not about discipline. It is not about willpower. It is about understanding that the 5 things that make up your credit score move at completely different speeds, and that nobody ever tells you which one moves fastest. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which lever produces score movement within 30 to 60 days, which one takes 6 to 12 months to show anything at all, and which ones barely matter at your current score level. That ordering matters more than any single tactic anyone has ever told you. Here's why. Your FICO score, the one used by about 90% of top lenders, is built from 5 factors. Most people know them in a general way: payment history, amounts owed, length of credit history, new credit, and credit mix. What almost nobody explains is that these 5 factors do not respond to changes on the same timeline. Some of them take months, sometimes years, to register movement, and one of them can change your score within a single billing cycle. Here's the thing that changes when you understand this. Every previous attempt you've made to improve your credit that didn't seem to move the needle, the payments you made on time, the accounts you didn't open, those efforts may have been completely correct. You may have just aimed at the slow-moving levers first. Payment history is the biggest factor. It's 35% of your score, the single heaviest weight in the calculation. And it is the slowest to change. If you've had missed payments in the past, consistent on-time payment from this point forward absolutely matters, but you will not see meaningful score movement from it for somewhere between 6 months and a year. That is not a reason to stop. That is a reason to not make it your first move. Amounts owed, which includes your credit utilization, is the second biggest factor at 30%. And it is the fastest to change. There is a specific mechanic inside this factor that most people who've tried to improve their credit have never been told about. That mechanic is coming. It is the part that changes how fast the number moves. Now let's talk about that mechanic and how it can create visible score movement faster than any other strategy you've been taught. Credit utilization is the ratio of what you currently owe on revolving credit to the total credit available to you. If your credit limit across all cards is $10,000 and your current balances total $5,000, your utilization is 50%. Here's what the data on this actually shows. FICO's own published data shows that consumers with scores above 800 carry an average utilization of around 5.7%. Not 30%, not under 30%, 5.7%. The standard advice, stay under 30%, is a damage threshold. It's the point below which you stop actively hurting your score. It is not the point at which your score optimizes. And here's something the 30% advice misses entirely. The scoring curve is not linear. Moving from 50% utilization down to 30% is a smaller gain than moving from 12% down to 5%. Which means if you've been carrying balances at 35% and you get them to 28%, you've done real work and seen very little movement. That's not failure. That's the math. Now, the mechanic most people never hear about. Your credit card company reports your balance to the credit bureaus on your statement closing date, not your payment due date. Those are 2 different dates. Most people pay their balance by the due date, which is correct. But if your balance is still high on the statement closing date, that is the number that gets reported. That is the number that becomes your utilization. That is the number the scoring model sees. Paying your balance down before the statement closes, not before the due date, before the closing date, means a lower number gets reported, which means your utilization drops, which means your score can move within the next billing cycle. This is one of the highest ROI moves available in credit repair. It requires no additional money beyond what you were going to pay anyway. It requires only knowing when to pay it. One more piece of the utilization picture. The scoring model evaluates utilization at both the individual card level and the aggregate level. One card at 75% hurts your score, even if your other 3 cards are at 0. If you have limited money to pay down balances, the highest utilization card on its own, not the highest balance, is where to put it first. Now let's turn to something that requires no money at all and can move your score faster than almost any debt payoff strategy. There is a second lever that most credit improvement content skips past. It requires no money. It can move your score faster than almost any paying down debt strategy. And roughly 1 in 5 people has access to it right now without knowing it. A landmark study by the FTC found that 1 in 5 consumers has a verified error on at least one of their credit reports, an error significant enough to negatively affect their score. And here is what that means. If there's an error on your credit report, an account that isn't yours, a late payment that was reported incorrectly, a collection that has been paid but still shows as open, your score is not measuring you. It is measuring someone else's mistake. The CFPB's analysis of successfully resolved disputes found they produce an average score increase of 25 points, with some cases exceeding 100 points when erroneous collections or late payments are removed. There is also a specific category of error that affected an enormous number of people in 2025 and 2026, medical debt. Medical debt was, until recently, the single most common type of collection appearing on credit reports. As of 2025, medical debt is no longer reportable to the bureaus under new federal rules. If your credit report still shows medical collections, and some reports do because the removal isn't always automatic, filing a dispute triggers a fresh review. That removal, if it applies to you, represents one of the most significant one-time score improvements available to any individual consumer. You are entitled to a free credit report from all 3 bureaus at annualcreditreport.com. 3 reports. 3 chances to find something that isn't accurate. Anyone who's been carrying the story that their score is a direct reflection of their financial choices, this is the part worth sitting with for a moment. The number may be partly wrong, not because of anything you did, because of something that was recorded incorrectly, and the system will correct it if it's asked. Dispute the error directly with the bureau that's reporting it. The FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, requires bureaus to investigate and respond within 30 days. If the error is confirmed as an error, it is removed, and the score recalculates from a more accurate baseline. This is not a loophole. This is the system working correctly. For once, working in your direction. Everything covered so far, the utilization mechanic, the timing piece, the dispute process, is the foundation of a larger action sequence. For anyone who wants that sequence built out into a step-by-step guide with timelines, decision trees, and a clear picture of what changes when, there's a resource in the description built exactly for that. No judgment about where the score currently sits. No perfection required. Now let's talk about the third lever, the one that matters most in the long run, but moves the slowest in the short term. The third lever is payment history, and the most important thing to understand about it is this. Stopping missed payments matters enormously, but the reward is delayed. 6 to 12 months of consistent on-time payment is what it takes to begin showing meaningful positive movement in the 35% of your score that payment history controls. That is not a reason to wait to start. That is a reason to start now, knowing that the payoff is coming on a timeline that isn't instant. The structural fix for payment history is autopay. Not because you can't remember due dates, because a brain managing chronic financial anxiety has enough cognitive load running in the background without adding, "Don't forget to pay this card by the 14th" to the list. Autopay for the minimum removes the risk of a missed payment from the willpower column entirely. It becomes a system, not a task. 2 things that look like credit-building moves but slow down your score when you're trying to move it fast. Opening new accounts. Every new account generates a hard inquiry, which temporarily lowers your score and resets the average age of your accounts, which is 15% of your score. When you're in repair mode, new accounts are almost always the wrong move. Closing old accounts. Counterintuitive, but closing an old card reduces your total available credit, which raises your utilization, which moves your score in the wrong direction. An old card with no balance and no annual fee does more for your score open than closed. Here is the full picture now. Fast lever. Utilization. Pay down the highest utilization card first. Pay before the statement closing date. Aim below 10% on each card and overall. Score response. Within 1 to 2 billing cycles. Second lever, errors. Pull all 3 reports from annualcreditreport.com, dispute anything inaccurate, check specifically for medical debt that should have been removed. Score response. Within 30 to 45 days of a resolved dispute. Slow lever, payment history. Start autopay on every account today. Minimum payment at minimum, and hold consistent for 6 to 12 months. Score response. Gradual, cumulative, significant over time. The right actions in the right order. That's the whole thing. If this opens something you want to go further with, the step-by-step sequence, the dispute templates, the exact timeline for what changes when, that's in the description. Links there, and it's in the pinned comment. What was the credit thing nobody ever explained to you that would have changed how you approached it earlier? So here is what's different now from when this video started. The credit score is not a verdict, it is a snapshot. built from 5 factors that move at 5 different speeds and potentially containing information that isn't even accurate. The reason improvement feels invisible to so many people is not that nothing is working. It is that the work was aimed at the slow-moving factor first, payment history, when the fast-moving factor was sitting right there, ready to move, waiting only for someone to understand the timing. Anyone who's been carrying the belief that their score is a direct readout of who they are with money. This is the part that's worth remembering. A score built partly from an error is not a measure of you. A score built from years of high utilization on a salary that barely covered the basics is not a measure of your character. It is a measure of a ratio. And ratios change when the numbers inside them change. Your one step for this week: go to annualcreditreport.com. Pull your free report, or all 3. Find one number, the utilization percentage on your highest balance card. That number tells you which lever is most relevant for you right now. If it's above 30%, the fast lever is available to you immediately. If it's below 10% and your score still isn't moving, the errors lever is where to look next. One step. Not a system, not a plan, one number from one report this week. The number is not who you are. It is where you are. And where you are is not where you're going to be.